Music is an agreeable harmony for the honor of God and the permissible delights of the soul.
During the Baroque era, many famous composers revolutionized music through various styles. Some famous composers of the Baroque era were Bach, Corelli, Vivaldi, Handel, and Telemann. Out of these 5 composers, one of them made a huge revolution in the music world, and that was Johann Sebastian Bach, the most famous composer of all time from the Baroque era. Before the Baroque era began, it was the Renaissance era. It lasted between 1400 to 1650. It controlled music. Composers in the Renaissance era composed distinctive musical sounds that was mainly a smooth polyphonic style. An important type of music was sacred music, but it was prominent in this time. Secular music began to be common in the interest of all people. Thus, the style of polyphonic was not only being used in sacred music, but also in secular music.
On March 21st, 1685, a baby boy was born, not knowing that he would soon become the iconic face of classical music. Johann Sebastian Bach was born in the town of Eisenach in Thuringia with the father of Johann Ambrosius and the mother of Maria Elisabetha. Because sewage disposal was poorly organized, and the fact that the existence of germs and disease had not yet been scientifically discovered, mortality rates were very high. At a young age of 9, Bach lost his mother. 9 months later, he had lost his father. After the death of his parents and siblings, Bach and his other brother, Johann Jacob, was under the care of his oldest brother, Johann Christoph. Given this environment provided by his brother, Johann Sebastian Bach's education on music was able to prosper.
Music has always been an essential part of the Bach's family life. It started way early around the years of 1500s to 1600s with Bach's great-great-grandfather Viet. Although he was a baker by trade, he was in love with his lute. He was always caught playing down in his mills at night, and later he became a fifer. A few years later, in continuing his family traditions, Bach's great-grandfather Viet's son Nguyen took some studies in music and became an amateur musician, and from there, their tradition continued from generations to generation. As each generations went by, the Bach's family became greater at their music. Bach's grandfather, Christopher, got reputation far beyond the amateur stage. Bach's father, Johann, not only was beyond the amateur stage, he became a professional in music. He even got the reputation of Huntsman for the town of Eisenach in 1672. Their family was greatly known for what they did in the towns of Arstach, Erfurt, and Eisenach. Their family was known so that in the town of Erfurt, when they left, great musicians were known as the Bachs for years. Before Bach came to be known, his cousins were the tradition of composers. When Bach first started playing music, his cousin's music pieces were the first pieces that he performed. At the end, Bach's own 4 sons carried on the family tradition and became outstanding musicians as well. As for Bach's musical life and his many musical performances, he composed many pieces with his many techniques. Out of his many pieces, his concertos that he used his admirations from Vivaldi to compose was the ones that stands out the most.
Many pieces composed from Bach are well known around the world. Some famous compositions by Bach are Aron G, the double violin concerto in D minor, the Brandenburg concertos, unaccompanied cello suites, Toccata and Fugue in D minor for the organ, and the St. Matthew Passion. Out of the thousands of pieces that Bach composed, only 8 were published. The rest of his music were preserved in original manuscript. Johann Sebastian Bach is also known for his compositions on canons and fugues. Some examples of the canon and fugues that Johann Sebastian Bach composed are Prelude and Fugue No. 14 in F sharp minor, Prelude and Fugue No. 24 in B minor, Canon Trias, Harmonica A8, and Canon A4. In the Baroque era, there was a demand for chamber music, so Bach composed a series of suites, overtures, and concertos, as well as sonatas such as 4 orchestral suites, the Brandenburg concertos, and the beautiful violin concertos. For most of Johann Sebastian Bach's life, he mainly wrote music for the church every week for the congregation. Bach was a chapel master, a person who directs and composes music for a church or chapel, in the court of Prince Leopold of Anhalt-Köthen, who was a major music lover. This period is where Johann Sebastian Bach composed some of his most famous compositions, like the Brandenburg concertos and the well-tempered clavier.
Music has been essential to humans throughout history. The transformation in the style of music between Baroque and Renaissance era were dramatic. During the Renaissance period, the music was encouraged through the church. Therefore, it introduced the rich vocal music. The concept of the style that was highly regarded in the Renaissance was to have a collection of voices singing the same text at different times. The Baroque era brought significant developments in music because of the simplicity of the music. In this era, it introduced monody. Monody is a simple vocal melody that is accompanied with chords. During the Baroque era, melody and harmony was able to prosper. Prior to this era, there was only one single melody that was present in music. An important element that differed the two eras was the importance of contrasting melodies. The dynamic sounds created through various instruments were greatly encouraged in this period. The composition of music in the Baroque era was very contrasting to the previous periods due to the composers specifying which instrument was to play which part of the piece. In this period, instruments like the violin and trumpet were able to prosper. These instruments were able to show the dynamic sounds that it had. Also, in the Baroque era, composers stopped focusing on the importance of polyphonic sounds and more on the monody sounds that an instrument could create.
The style of music found in the Baroque era revolutionized our music today. Today, there is still music found with a single melody with chords accompanying it. It is truly revolutionizing to our music that we listen to today, all thanks to Johann Sebastian Bach.